All right. What the hell is hanging from your mics there?
A tauntaun.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought that's what it was, but then I was worried about mispronouncing it and then revealing how much I actually don't know about Star Wars. So,
There's also a tauntaun skull on my wall right there.
Well, the joke's on you. I didn't know how to pronounce it either, and now I do. So it worked out for everybody.
I recognized it, and that's what's important.
I keep trying. I got like a gazetteer that keeps getting in the way of my camera. This is a geologist problem right here.
Too many maps.
Yes, actually, that is what's happening.
I've thrown out more maps than most people have ever seen in their lifetime.
I don't throw out any maps. Like when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'm gonna be the only one left to navigate.
You want to know about the rivers in Missouri or something like that, right? Is that yeah?
I'm gonna.
When I left Texas Tech, or when I was there, they were getting rid of a lot of their topo maps.
Oh.
And I'm talking like a pile of like that thick of topo maps. And so I took them and I lugged them around with me for 20 years until I'm like, I really have no need for topo maps for Kansas. There's like one line.
I was gonna say, are there any lines on a topo map of Kansas? No.
I used them for wrapping paper for a while.
Oh, that's actually cool, though.
That is very fun.
Oh, wow.
You need to do that with your maps.
We still use our maps. Oh, and I use
That's
mine to
right.
hold up my camera. So very important. Very important. Oh, my God. So you guys have never met.
No.
I am Jim.
Hi, Ben.
Formal. I love it. Thanks for joining us tonight and bringing your tauntaun and its mother's skull on the wall behind you.
Yikes.
Oof.
She smelled bad on the outside.
Does she smell bad on the inside?
Have you seen Star Wars?
That's you sleep on the inside because it's warmer.
What?
You have not seen Star Wars.
That was one of the few that I have seen. So
Wow. Okay.
It's one of the newer movies. It came out in 1980.
Oh, so it's like like the ones that they like ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, there's so many. All right, we gotta.
I feel
pause.
so much better about myself
Wow.
in regards to knowing Star Wars things.
I have seen a lot of the Star Wars. A lot of the Star Wars. All right. We should have like a more formal beginning to this podcast than this.
I was thinking about how we never really introduce ourselves.
Should
Is
we
it in the
introduce
intro?
ourselves?
I don't know.
No,
I feel
actually,
like-
we don't. We never introduce ourselves.
Right.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm
You
Amanda.
need intro music.
We have intro music.
Yeah, we just usually play it whenever there's like a good segue.
Like now.
Welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, brewed for higher ed, where teaching meets good vibes. We're just two friends who love our work, our students, and more importantly, a good laugh. Here you can expect a blend of ridiculous classroom stories, a little education research, as well as some practical teaching advice. So grab your coffee, settle in. It sounds like it's going to be a good episode today.
3 hours into the show.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone.
You intro music.
That's right.
Sometimes if you let Amanda talk long enough, then it would be 3 hours into our episode that we would have the intro music.
You have a lot to
just feel
say.
like you have a lot of stories, I know. And then I'm like, okay, can we start with what we plan to talk about today?
Ben has like his papers ready to go. He's like,
I'm task oriented.
anyway. Welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, everyone. We have a special guest tonight.
We do.
We're brewed for higher ed.
Well, I was going to say that, but then you cut it. There was something in the
know.
middle. It was awkward. It's fine. We're brewed for higher ed.
We are. I have to let my
What if
dog
I don't
out.
like coffee?
Oh,
I don't drink coffee, so
I drink
I-
tea.
yeah, tea's good. I don't know if it's probably, I don't know if it's too late or not for a rebrand, but it's fine.
We'd have to do so much work. It's too late.
I know all of our merchandise we'd have to reprint. We have no merchandise.
We'd have to make new artwork.
That's true.
Oh, anyway. So, guys, we have a special guest tonight. We have a guest who is one of my old classmates from college, although I am a year older than you.
That's what I tell everybody.
It's true. So I was going to tell a college story, but I might save that for later. So we're going to do a little bio that was definitely not written at all by AI, but was fixed.
I'm like, AI thinks this about me? That's
does.
very wrong.
Oh, I want to hear what was wrong. All right, so let me do my...
Whatever I edited, I don't know. You have the edited
I
version.
fixed... Correct.
Why would he remember what was wrong?
I mean, if someone said something about me that was profoundly wrong, like, I would definitely remember that. Like,
That's fair.
She is well known for her downhill skiing antics. Like, that would stick. I'm just saying.
You're not?
Not anymore. Anyway, so joining us tonight is Dr. Jim Lehane. So Jim is a geologist and a paleontologist who I know professionally, and then every once in a while run into at a meeting, and I'm like, what the hell is Jim talking about now? So Jim has a background.
That's most of my topics at meetings.
It is. It really
what
is.
What the hell is this?
What is happening? So Jim and I went together to Geneseo. So we both have undergrads in geological sciences. And then Jim, when I went to Chapel Hill, Jim went to Texas Tech to earn a master's in geology, and this I found out from AI, although you said this then in another meeting, where he rebuilt a nearly complete skull of the basal Triassic archosaur Shuvosaurus. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Crushed it. That he then earned a PhD in geology from University of Utah in 2014, where he studied behavioral patterns using deep marine trace fossils and the role of chaos theory in evolutionary patterns.
I like to throw that one in because it makes me sound smart.
It does. It does. I was like, what the hell does that even mean? But...
Yeah, beyond formal research, Jim is deeply engaged in science outreach and education. He maintains a long-running website, dinojim.com, which acts as a hub for his geological and paleontological writings, projects, and educational content spanning dinosaurs, national park geology, and geology in pop culture. There he shares accessible geological insights, fun facts, and detailed educational resources aimed at both enthusiasts and students alike.
It's true. I have a story that I'm going to save for the pod about Jim's...
Amanda, we're on the pod right now.
Oh, good call. Jim is a co-host of two long-running Star Wars podcasts, Talkin' Tauntauns. Did I do? Oh, and Star Wars Tauntauns. Beyond the Films. Yes.
That's where the Tauntauns come from.
It's all coming together now. Where he combines his scientific background with his love for Star Wars, storytelling, and broader cultural topics. Through this show, he discusses science, science fiction, and the intersections between them, bringing paleo and geology into conversations that appeal widely beyond academic circles. Do they? I bet the crossover between academics and Star Wars is tight.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. It's a circle. His presence on social media platforms such as Instagram at Dino Jim and Blue Sky at Jazzinator, which the spelling for those will be in the notes, further reflects his commitment to engaging diverse audiences in science.
Yeah. Jim embodies...
What?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say your AI put X on there, and I'm like, I haven't been on X in a hot minute.
Same. Same.
All right, last paragraph. Jim embodies a modern scientist, educator, someone who contributes to disciplinary knowledge while actively making science approachable and exciting to the public. Jim's work highlights the relevance of earth sciences to everyday curiosity and cultural interests, making him a compelling voice in contemporary geological communication. disregard.
Try to be.
Yeah, just disregard his utter disdain for AI is the last sentence we have there.
So, can you tell our vast audience about your disdain for AI? It's not unwarranted.
The fact that they've done studies about how it actively makes you dumber. And apparently I just read a study yesterday that said that people who use AI for creativity for a short period of time, they become homogenized. Like the people all start to output the same information. And then when you take away the AI, they're actually less creative than the people that never used AI, and they don't get that back when they redid the study after a month.
Really?
Ooh.
So how much do you have to use AI before it permanently impacts your creativity?
Yeah, let her know now.
I need to know. I need to write this down.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair.
So Jim, you've heard this story before, but I was watching The Mandalorian at some point.
That's a Star Wars thing.
I know it is.
I was telling the audience.
It's a circle. They know. So
they probably know.
They probably know. And I was sitting with my daughter, who's a geology major at SUNY New Paltz, and it bothered me. I don't remember, although you probably do, the name of those like critters that kind of look like woolly mammoths. What are they called on The Mandalorian?
The banthas?
Yes. So the banthas have these teeth that like look like deer teeth, like they're like browser teeth for like organisms that eat like soft shoots and stuff like that. But the banthas were living like in a desert, and I was like, there is no and they were huge and woolly and not adapted in any way for a desert-like environment. And I was like, this is preposterous. And I was telling my man friend that, and he was like, no one on the earth but you would think that. And I was like, no, other people have had this thought. And I Googled it, and someone else had that thought. And that person was you. It was on your blog. And I was like, I know this guy.
I actually talked about that. I was invited to a podcast called Star Warsologies, where they do kind of the science behind Star Wars and stuff. And we had a whole conversation about like woolly mammoths and Tatooine.
Yes.
And like desert animals. And one of the interesting things I found out was that camels it's thought based on paleontology that camels are not native to the desert. They're actually native to the Arctic.
Really?
And so that's why they are actually rather hairy, and are able to retain water because there's such little water content in the Arctic, and they're just perfectly suited for a desert environment.
Wild.
Well, because like the Arctic is also a desert because it's but like just cold. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Weird. Okay.
So.
That's it.
Are we ready for questions?
We're going to start with some hard-hitting questions, and I hope that you can handle it.
Yeah, I was tired and needed to come up with stuff. So what are your top 3 dinosaurs?
Top 3 dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So I have looked at the questions, but it was very brief and I was driving. So Dilophosaurus was my number 1, mostly because Jurassic Park destroyed that animal so badly. In real life, Dilophosaurus was like 6 feet tall, and they made him like these tiny little 3-foot dinosaurs. And I'm like, that's actually a really cool dinosaur, and you made it terrible.
So wait, so for our listeners who are not part of the circle, the Dilophosaurus is the critter in the first Jurassic Park that had like the frill that was like, oh, and then he spit like the venom onto one of the characters.
That at 6 feet tall is terrifying.
Well, he didn't have the frill in real life.
It didn't have the frill.
Oh, okay.
I think they didn't make him 6 feet tall because the velociraptors were 6 feet tall, and velociraptors are not 6 feet tall. They are 3 feet tall.
Really?
So, yep.
So was the venomous spit, was that real?
No, that was based on some lizard that I don't recall the name of off the top of my head, but it had nothing. A lot of people are like, you can't tell that in the fossil record. Yes, you can. It wasn't there.
I love this.
There's a lot of dreams being shattered today. All right, so that's number one.
There's a lot of people learning today, Amanda.
Top three. Probably would have to say Pachycephalosaurus because it's my wife's favorite
Mine
dinosaur.
too. So wait,
And
why
then-
is it Veronica's favorite?
At one point in time, she wanted to be a neurologist.
Oh, yeah.
And so it being the bone-headed dinosaur kind of fit at the time. And so it just carried it around.
So I think that I like Pachycephalosaurus because I feel like they are like the closest thing to modern man in the dinosaur world, where they just solved all their problems by smashing their giant
That feels
bony
right.
skulls into each other. And then
I was wondering where that
that's
was
how
going.
won. That's how you win,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
right?
And then the third one, I'd probably go with the Brontosaurus.
A classic.
I was going to say that. That's the one that I know off the top of my head. And I don't have to Google.
I like the Brontosaurus because Brontosaurus you hear a lot of times where people go, that's not actually a dinosaur anymore. And they're like, well, turns out that, so when they were naming the animals, Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus was named first. I don't, it was
Cope
when
and Marsh.
there's a, yeah, during the bone wars between Cope and Marsh. I don't remember who named which. One person named Brontosaurus, then the other person named Apatosaurus a short time after. And so since they've been named, Brontosaurus, or Apatosaurus was first, Apatosaurus had been the proper name. But for some reason, in like, it felt like the 80s, they're like, no, Brontosaurus isn't a real name. It's like, but we've been using it for 100 years. Actually, some researchers, probably about 10 years or so ago, actually went to the dig site where the original Brontosaurus was found because a skull was never discovered with the original Brontosaurus. And they actually found a skull, and it seemed to be distinct enough from the Apatosaurus skull that the Brontosaurus, again, was an actually valid, a valid name. So Brontosaurus and Apatosaurus were not the same things. So it debunks all your childhoods. That's not a real dinosaur name. Like, well, it turns out it is.
You have
That's
something
very
brewing
funny.
back there, Ben. I can see. You had
My cat?
No, your question. Like I.
She just launched herself up the back of my chair. That might have been what you saw on my face.
Okay. Fair.
No, I was just thinking it's fun that like you Amanda, that you also know all of these dinosaurs just off the top of your head.
So I teach historical geology, and there are always students who like are obsessed with dinosaurs and they know more than I do. And so I have that disclaimer when I start talking about that. But like, so I've learned more about dinosaurs over the years.
Got it.
For sure.
You're just like, yes, that one.
Well, those are some classics. Those are not
Yeah.
like in the weeds dinosaurs, which I appreciate because it's enough sometimes. Like,
Thank you for entertaining me.
Well, we could go with like the Therizosaurus.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to pronounce it, and that one's the one in the new Jurassic Park with its like sickle claws,
Oh,
like the
yes.
really long spikes on its fingers,
Yes.
or as its fingers. I do appreciate that one.
I tried to type that into Google and it said, "Did you mean thesaurus?"
So, the last Jurassic Park where they have like the hybrid, like mutant type dinosaurs, I just wish they would stop. Like, I just wish they like kill the franchise.
Making the movies?
Yes,
Or,
just stop because like the hybrid dinosaurs that they're like making in a lab now, they make them look like there's just something genetically wrong with them, and there is, I guess.
That last movie was so bad that my wife and I were laughing at it through the whole movie, and we saw it in the theater, and I don't think the people around us appreciated how good a time we were having.
It is an offense. It's an offense to science. Oh my god. So, what made you start dinojim.com? Like, how did you get involved in science communication? Like, so you have all these like nerdy fun thoughts in your house, and maybe Veronica is like, I am so tired of you talking about this with me. Can you like talk to strangers on the internet? Like, how did it happen?
That's about it. Yeah. So before I had my website, I actually had a top cities website for anybody who remembers that. That's where you basically can make up your own website and you don't have to pay anybody anything. It's like a blog, but it was an actual, like, you could set up your own website. And after a little while that I'm like, well, I'm going to actually make my own website, pay for my own domain. So I have like some variety of footprint. And that was, yeah, like early mid 2000s. I started to do that. I started to do a lot of the geology blogging.
Yeah.
Talking about different geological aspects. A lot of, I like geology and pop culture, geology kind of that nobody else is looking at. And so that's what I liked to write about. And I actually made quite a number of friends because other people were also doing the geological sphere at the same time as I was. Person, I believe you know Amanda, Callan Bentley.
Oh, yes.
That's how I got to know him. He was doing his stuff. I have a friend at the USGS. She had a blog at the same time, and that's what we actually collaborated for a government project just this last year. And we're like, it's like, oh, she's the perfect person. I'm like, I have known her for like 15 years. This is perfect. And so, no, it's like a great communication tool, but also a great networking tool where I got to like meet a lot of people that I normally wouldn't have gotten to talk to.
So you mentioned pop culture. So what does pop culture mean to Dino Jim?
I've actually I've looked up pop culture, and it doesn't mean to me what it means to apparently the rest of the internet.
Okay. So what does
Pop
it mean to
culture,
you?
like most people, I think it means like TV, movies, like things that are happening nowadays. I see pop culture as anything, even like in the past, anything that was media related, books, like even like you're looking at the 1800s. If you have a book that is technically the popular culture of the time, it's not, you wouldn't consider the Crime and Punishment, for instance, as pop culture, but it was. And so that's kind of, I always see anything not naturally related is kind of pop culture. Anything man-made is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, just anything that was popular with culture at some point. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you have this website, but then you expand to social media too, right? You have your Instagram, and I don't even think I told Ben, like Jim has a whole big thing called like Drunk on Geology, which is all about like different wines that are connected to geology in some way as well. How did you
That's very fun.
right? How did you kind of expand outward?
It was mostly just I liked I had different ideas, and so that's one of those. I love the geological alcohols, so I would write them. So I have my main blog, which is the geologypage.com. And I put a lot of that stuff on Dino Jim, depending on if it fits over there. But that's where the geology page is where I write a lot of the stuff. And then I had a lot of these alcohols that I really liked to go into the background of what is the geology behind the alcohols. Actually, I have... Well,
I've been drinking this whole podcast.
no, I haven't. I have a couple that I haven't taken pictures of yet, so they're sitting behind me. And like this one, like it
boundary breaks, fun.
Yeah, boundary breaks. It has like a little topo map on the label,
Fun.
and so it's things like that that I'm like, oh, that has like a cool, like, what is the geological story behind that? And so I'll go into the geology behind these things, and a lot of them sometimes it's the name of the winery or even the name of the brewery, any alcohol. Or is it the specific bottle that they're specific not vintage, but the thing that they're actually like they're trying to sell, and like and go into that. And so that's what my drunkongeology.com was, all of those things that I just kind of put all together. And so I started to do, I like to do like little artwork type things. So I made little logos for all the different types of geological connections that they have. Like Drunk on Paleontology is a T-Rex with like the little the hand reacher thing with a beer bottle trying to drink the beer.
Beautiful, beautiful. Interesting. Okay.
That is more fun than where I thought that was going, which was like just going to be drinking wine and then talking about geology. But it's actually the geology of the wine, which is really neat.
The funny thing is, I don't drink much.
Mm.
My wife drinks a little bit of wine every now and then, and like even like most of like I'll buy the wines and she'll eventually drink them. She doesn't really drink. I'll buy everything, but I won't drink it, and like they'll just kind of sit there. And an Allosaurus ale was sitting on the counter the other day, and I'm like, that's been there for a while. She's like, yeah, I want a beer.
So what's a cool story that you discovered while writing something for Drunk on Geology? I've just
Off the top of my head.
Sorry.
No, it's a lot of random things. I found a winery. There's a winery in Hawaii that is across the street from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
Cool.
And so that's one of those that it's like it literally geology. Like you can't get any closer to geology because they've had to close for ashfall at times.
Mm-hmm.
Probably this year.
So you were talking about doing different pop culture presentations at conferences.
Yes.
Like what are some of the things that you have presented out at conferences, and like what are maybe some of the ones that stick out to you or your favorite ones that you've done?
So I did long time ago, probably a little over 10 years ago, I did a talk at GSA. All my talks are at GSA generally.
The Geological Society of America for all of our listeners.
Yes, not the government spending or whatever the other GSA
Way
is.
worse, way worse.
So I did a talk on using geological movies as teaching tools. And it's kind of like that was one of those that I felt like people can use these movies. Dante's Peak. Dante's Peak is one of those like great 90s action movies that you look at and you go, the geology in here is probably terrible. And it's not actually. It's actually, most of it is very accurate. And so it's using things like that, like teaching the students to be able to nitpick the science, but also verify what is real and what is not real. The Day After Tomorrow is actually amazingly scientifically accurate, except it's on a much, much shortened time frame. So like, but everything that happens is theoretically possible if you were to stretch that time frame out a little bit or a lot of bit.
Yes.
And so that was one of the talks I did. I did one talk 2 years ago where it was all obscure geological references and things. And so I kind of went through different pop culture genres, like music. There's the Bastille has a song called Pompeii that is literally about the eruption of Pompeii. The movie Rescuers Down Under. That one is
Like the kids movie, like Chip and Dale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, not Chip and Dale, the Rescuers.
Are they not?
They're not.
I'm sorry.
They're
My
not Chip and
children
Dale.
are older than your daughter.
This came out in 80.
It's mice.
It's mice? Okay.
It's mice. You're adjacent.
Oh,
It
they're rodents.
would be your childhood that this movie came out in.
My childhood was so long ago, though. I forgot.
I think it's one of those things where it just got remade like adjacent like 10 years later
Okay.
kind of situation. Yeah.
Well, they did do a sequel to it, but no, it was there's the Rescuers was the first one, and then the Rescuers Down Under is the sequel to it.
Yes.
And the whole thing is based around failed opal mines in Australia.
Really?
And you would never know this watching the movie. But there's like little shots of like danger mines, and they're in these like abandoned opal mines. And in the late 80s in Australia, apparently had a really big boom and then bust in the opal mining market. And so this movie took that information and used it as its background for the Rescuers franchise. And I'm like, this is such an amazing like story that you're like, where like nobody realizes that like everything in the background is actually scientifically accurate and explains like so much geology to it. And so like my presentation did a whole lot of that. My favorite part of that entire talk was Snow White.
How so?
So where are the dwarves working in Snow White?
In a mine, I think, right?
Yeah. Diamonds.
Where
Mine, yeah.
are diamonds found?
I mean, Africa. In kimberlite
But in what
mines.
geological structures?
I mean, in like volcanic necks, like vents and conduits.
Not volcanic necks, they're called kimberlites.
Right, in right.
So kimberlites are geological structures that basically stem from the mantle.
Right.
So you're under super high pressure down in the mantle, and they have these little like funnel-shaped, like you're saying, funnel-shaped structures that kind of shoot up towards the surface of the Earth. So diamonds are inherently not stable on the Earth because they're formed at a much higher pressure. However, you can look at locations of all the kimberlites in the world, and Snow White, if you know anything about Snow White, it is based in what country?
Oh
I
man.
want to say like Germany or
Me
something.
too.
It is Germany. So the
Okay.
story was written. The story was written in Germany. Disney also sees Snow White as a German princess.
Yeah.
So like if you were to do a meet and greet with Snow White in Epcot, she's in Germany. And so when you look at the locations of all the kimberlites on Earth, there are no kimberlites in Europe.
Yeah.
And so where else can you find diamonds? Because you clearly like they're not mining these like diamond mines. And the original Snow White story was actually based on copper mining.
Oh, interesting.
And so it was based around that, but that's not fun because they're mining diamonds. So I kept digging. I'm like, where can we go with this? And if you look up diamonds in Germany, there is one source that comes back. There is a town in Germany that was struck with a meteorite, and the geology was just had enough carbon in it that it actually made like tons of little microscopic diamonds. The entire town is built in this meteorite impact crater, and everything is encased in diamonds. All the rocks there are have diamonds in them, and so they'll actually use these rocks to like build their houses and stuff. And so that's my favorite thing is like Snow White is actually took place in a meteorite impact.
That's bananas.
That is bananas. I
that's-
am actually wondering how much people actually thought about that, or how much it was just like, well, copper's not shiny enough.
No kid is going
that's
to care about copper.
Well, that was all. That was me. I was going through
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
like through this because I'm like there has to be a geology behind Snow White. So what can I like dig out? And so that's why I would scientifically kind of go at it. Like, so what is the basis of the story of Snow White? Okay, copper mining, not fun. Where do diamonds come from? Kimberlites. There's no kimberlites. So what is a third alternative for this story? How can we make this story real? And so that's kind of where I would go about it. And I just wrote up a paper that kind of is very, very similar to that is how can you make Lord of the Flies accurate?
Okay.
because have you guys read Lord of the Flies?
In ninth grade.
I have a general idea of the premise. I think they stopped making kids read that book.
Because it was traumatizing because of the kid
Yeah.
murder.
Actually, my daughter just read it, so
Oh, okay.
they so I just read it. I've never read it before. I just read it this past year, but they basically it is traumatizing. It, it is during a nuclear war, which I did not realize going into the book, because they refer to the nuclear war as kind of happening like vaguely, like the kids don't realize what's going on, and they're like, oh, there are bombs going off. I'm like, oh my word, nuclear fallout. But the kids crash land on this clearly tropical island, and they keep calling everything granite. And they say they're landing on a tropical island in the Pacific, and everything is granite.
Which is
The
obviously
problem
not
with
true.
that
Yeah.
The problem with that is that if you try
Obviously.
to find
Yes.
granitic islands within oceanic plates, they are very, very rare. Almost everything is limestone, like corals, or
Mhm.
they are basaltic, like think
Mhm.
of Hawaii. There are a few islands that are granitic within, especially the Pacific. Most of them are near shore to, or just offshore of continents. Like North America, there's a few islands that are granitic because they came off of North America. There is an entire continent that I never knew about when I was researching this called Zealandia,
Yes.
where New Zealand and everything, most of the continent is submerged.
I've heard it
That
called
is almost
Oceania also because of exactly what you're saying, but it's the same idea.
so those islands, a lot of those islands are granitic, and there are a series of islands down to the southeast of New Zealand that are clearly granitic islands. And the book goes into detail about them being pink. I'm like, okay, so I'll look for pink granitic islands, and there's quite a few down there that all fit the pink granitic islands in the Pacific. The only problem is that they are completely barren, and they are in subarctic waters. And so like you're like, this is not going to work at all, because like these kids can't be here, because if they're swimming around in the waters, they would all die. Plus there's nothing to eat because there is literally not a tree on these islands.
Mhm.
And so I kept looking. And I'm like, if you look, and the book kind of describes um, every time he said the Pacific, it was the author saying the Pacific, not the kid saying the Pacific. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not the Pacific. Maybe they thought it was the Pacific. So where would you fly? Clearly, they were trying to fly from somewhere. They're all British, so maybe a British colony or Britain to somewhere else that they could be safe. And I'm like, the Indian Ocean seems like a fairly good bet. They're clearly over ocean. The Indian Ocean does have one concentration of granitic islands, the Seychelles,
I don't even. Oh, okay.
which are, yeah, they're north of Madagascar and off to the east side of Africa, kind of in that area. And they're all very, very tropical islands. They're all mountainous islands. It's great. They're all very, very granitic islands. And there's actually a few islands in that group that are very, very isolated from all the other ones. And so these kids wouldn't be able to see any other islands from there. And so I'm like, oh, so I found where, like, if this story could actually take place, this would be the island that they would be on.
Dude, that is so in the weeds. It's amazing. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
I see why
Now
Veronica
they know
made
where they
you.
can film.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She makes me talk to other people.
I see why Veronica's like, you should share this with the world, Jim. Write it down.
I mean, in that vein, like you're bringing in like pop culture stuff like this, or you're bringing these types of things to these educational spaces or conferences, and like, what has been the reaction from people that are there? Because I'm assuming it'll be a lot different at like a geological conference than somewhere else. But like, what do you hope people get out of the work that you do?
I I hope that they use this as an entry point into geological learning or just science in general. I would frequently, when I was teaching labs, I had a couple of labs based on a lot of this stuff. I had a lab based on Walden, Henry Thoreau's Walden Pond.
Okay.
In the book, he has an entire chapter where he is taking a stone and doing depths of the pond to find out. He's like, everybody thinks that the pond is depthless or has no bottom. He's like, that's dumb. So I'm going to figure out exactly how deep it is. And he waited till it froze over, and he cut little holes and used a rock and a string to find out what the depth was. And so I have students read the chapter and then make a bathymetric map based on his writings, and then compare that to an actual bathymetric map of the lake, and to see how accurate was he, because that's not fiction at all. Like, he literally lived there. We know this. And you could see that his rudimentary science was actually fairly accurate when you look at it compared to modern day depth grids. And so it's things like this, like that you can take these obscure sources where you don't think that there's any science or there's no real quote unquote real science behind this.
Mhm.
And a lot of times there is.
So I've seen some of your talks as well. In fact, you didn't talk about the most recent talk that I saw you give in Anaheim, but I'll let you talk about that in a second. But I've seen talks about the science behind SpongeBob SquarePants. And so, like, the first year,
I've heard of that.
yeah.
Yep.
So the first year of SpongeBob cartoons, it was written by a guy who was actually an oceanographer, and
Yep.
then I think the rights got picked up, and there's much less science in there, but it was like a similar thing. But in that same vein, what about, so the last time, was it the last? It may have been the last time I saw you in person was in Anaheim, which was, I guess, a year and a half
Probably.
ago. Yeah. So, tell us about the talk you gave there.
So since the conference was in Anaheim, literally steps away from Disneyland, I was like, okay, I'm going to do the geology behind the Disney parks. And a lot of the rides that Disney uses, they go through a lot of research to actually incorporate science within the rides that they do. To the point to where Disney World used to have an active paleontology lab in the park, in the now sadly defunct Dinoland USA.
R.I.P. Dinoland.
Oh, I love Dinoland so much. It was so great. But yeah, so there was also actually a field trip that I had nothing to do with. They had a field trip to Disneyland that they talked about the geology behind some of the rides. And I was actually, I did have to try to bite my tongue on a lot of things. And I'm like, because I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that I already know because I've looked into it, but there's stuff that they didn't know. And I'm like, oh, like the Big Thunder Mountain. Big Thunder Mountain is one of my favorites because they really went hardcore into the geology behind the structures. And if you look at Big Thunder Mountain in Disney World, is different than Big Thunder Mountain in Disneyland.
Really?
Yes, and they did the one in Disney World first, and they wanted to make it look like the desert Southwest, and so it kind of looks like Utah. Arizona has that desert rocky feel to it. It has a lot of sandstone. The problem is that sandstone grit and color doesn't match the aesthetics of Disneyland. Disney World is much more laid out. Disneyland, everything kind of fits together as a much tighter puzzle. And so they changed all of the sandstone rocks to be limestones that more matched Bryce Canyon as opposed to the sandstones of like Arches.
Cool.
And so that pinkish hue that you get at Bryce Canyon, that color matches the other rocks in Frontier Town. And so that's why the geology is different between the two. But they actually went and specifically picked the rock, like which park they wanted to match the the parks, the other rides in the land.
That makes
That's
sense.
cool. So when you're talking about the rocks, like the geology matching, you're talking about like the shape of the rocks and the other stuff that they're doing in the space.
The shape, the
yeah.
shape, the color, the designs.
Okay.
If you like walk around the parks, they put in like geological structures into the rocks. Like they have cross bedding in the rocks that they like. Yes, people made them to look like that, but it was a design choice to match the actual landscape.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm like looking at photos right now. It's like, what does this actually look like? Of the 2 years I was in Anaheim, I never went to Disneyland.
You didn't?
I was literally 5 minutes down the highway, and I'm not a theme park people person. So,
Did I tell you how Jessica and I ended up driving the California coast on that trip?
no, I don't think so.
So we had rented like a car from Enterprise or something, and we were just going to use it the one day because like in those big cities, like they charge you like $40 a day to park at a hotel. So we're like, this is stupid. So then something happened and Enterprise gave our car away. So I was like, well,
While you were in it?
no, like we went to pick it up and they're like, yeah, we don't have a car for you. And we're like, what? We had
We
this.
got out of the gas station. We came back out. The car was gone.
They repoed it on a, no. So I was like, well, there's other car places around here. And we already walked to the Enterprise. So we walked to second place and they had no cars. And then we walked up to this third place. And right out front was a Mustang, a red Mustang convertible. And she said, watch, this is going to be the only car that's available. So we go in and we wait in the line. And the guy in front of us was like just giving the guy behind the counter just a hard time. He was just being an I'll do the bleep. And so so we get up there and Jessica was like, guy was wearing a shirt with like 10,000 bananas on it. And she was like, nice banana shirt. And he was like, thanks. And I was like, here's the deal. We need a car. We don't care what the car is. We need a car today and we'll bring it back tonight. And he was like, you should not have told me that you don't care what this car is. And then he starts furiously typing and he breathes heavy and he's like, all right, here's your choices. I have a Chrysler minivan for X number of dollars a day. Or for $12 more a day, I can give you a Mustang convertible. And we look at each other and Jessica is like, we can't get the convertible. And I was like, we can't not get the convertible. What do you mean? She's like, we're going to get in so much trouble. And I'm like, I will take I will cover that $12 and I will text our dean and tell her what we're doing. And she was like, all right. And so I text the dean and she's like, have a great time. And she covered the whole cost. So we just took the convertible.
Nobody voluntarily rents a minivan.
I was like, people would lose so much street cred. We would lose all of our street cred for $12. Sure. Get out of here. But
wait. What?
My street cred.
You where has this been hiding?
Rude.
See, I never question it because Amanda has more than I do.
It's relative. It's a relative thing.
That's fair. That's a good point.
But yes, so we saw your talk that day, and I think the next day, I feel like we each gave a talk that day, and then the next day we drove up and down. We drove all the way to San Diego and back. It was awesome. And we collected sand samples along the way with the idea that we could argue that we were thinking about developing a new field course in California, which we still could, but it was cool.
Did you develop a new course? Or do you have sand?
I have so much sand, and I do teach a sand lab. I teach a couple sand labs. So, yes, I will actually.
You do just have sand in your office. I literally asked you about it, I think, like last week. I was like, what do you have sand here for?
So Jessica's nephew just got back. He went to Morocco, and so I have like desert sand from Morocco, but it's cool. You never know what you're
Yeah.
going to find in my office. That's absolutely the truth.
It's
I
true.
have white sand.
From like the White Sands National Monument.
Yes, that clearly was collected outside the fence because the sand dunes migrate to outside the fence, and so you can collect the sand as long as it's surpassed the fence line.
I'm glad, because collecting in a national park is not allowed.
It is not.
We all know this.
Absolutely.
Well, I think since we're like near the end, I did want to ask, because you do the Star Wars podcast and you do some pop culture and geology stuff, and I'm like, how much geology and paleontology content actually is there in Star Wars?
There's actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
I get my favorite story about the paleontology and geology in Star Wars is the original Star Wars movie. R2-D2 and C-3PO are walking across the desert right at the beginning, and there's a skeleton in the background. Yes? Do you remember?
Yep.
I have a vague idea. Yeah.
That skeleton is an actual dinosaur.
Oh.
So the skull was swapped out. They actually got that dinosaur from a previous Disney movie called, why is it now escaping my head? It's something, someone stole our dinosaur. It's something like that.
What?
Clearly, it's not a popular Disney movie.
It is. I've never actually watched it. One of our dinosaurs is missing. That's it.
Okay. A classic.
It's a classic, yes. 1975. So that, so the cat, this skeleton that was in A New Hope, the first Star Wars, was from that movie, One of Our Dinosaurs Missing, which was actually a brontos or a diplodocus skeleton called Dippy. That it was from London's Natural History Museum. It was one of the casts that they had and that they didn't want anymore. So it eventually ended up in the first movie and then eventually ended up in Star Wars. So Star Wars has an actual dinosaur skeleton within it. That's one of my favorite stories. But
that's cool.
There's others. My favorite science in action is in The Last Jedi, which is one of the newer Star Wars ones. Where they're on the trench on the planet Crate towards the end of the movie, and everything's white. And one of the soldiers kind of sticks his finger down in the white and then licks it and goes, salt. And they're salt flats. And then you have the ships driving through the salt flats and everything's kicking up. Instead of the white that was on the top, everything's red underneath.
Oh. Gotcha.
And I'm like, oh, that's sylvite. I'm like, that's so cool.
It's a
It's like you
potassium
have-
chloride for all of you mineral nerds out there. It tastes terrible.
It's literally a red salt. And so I was so excited by that. And literally just this past week, I was reading something up on that mentioned Crate, and it said rhodochrosite soil underneath the surface. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I actually know quite a few of the Star Wars authors, and I texted one of my friends who co-wrote the book, and I said, who wrote this section? He's like, I did. And I'm like, where did you get rhodochrosite from? He's like, oh, that was from previous existing information. You're going to want to talk to somebody else. And so I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, I made that up based on the crystals in the cavern that the Millennium Falcon flies through. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, but I understand where you got it from. Like, actually, it'd probably be sylvite if this was to be a real system. Obviously, none of this is real. It's all fake. I don't care. This is literally my life is I like to pick apart your stuff to see how accurate it is. But yeah, that was one of my there's a lot if you want to go.
No, that's right. No, that's a good example. Because I get the impulse to pick this stuff apart, because whenever I'm watching space stuff and they're like have the lasers and they're like pew pew, I'm like, there's no sound in space. Like, what are you doing? I'm just like, I got the physics side of that. So I got you.
The pews are in their head. They're actually just saying pew pew. And
There's just somebody who's firing their gun just going pew pew pew.
yeah, so you're not actually you're hearing them talking, not
Yeah.
the actual sound of the lasers, if that helps.
Ben,
It helps a lot.
does that
Like
happen?
when things explode, you go, boom.
Yeah, right.
Ben, does that happen to you when you watch movies? Like, do you have a hard time not critiquing the physics?
A lot of sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. It depends on what I'm watching. I was a creative writing minor, so a lot of the time I'm critiquing plot more than I am critiquing the actual physics of things. But there are times when especially when it's outer space stuff, I'm just like, no, no.
False.
Yeah.
So, Jim, one of the movies that I've scientifically found the most offensive is although wildly entertaining,
Is it The Core?
No, I've never seen The Core, like, for personal reasons.
Whatever you're going to say, The Core is more.
Okay. I was going to say San Andreas because
San Andreas. So I haven't nitpicked San Andreas apart
it's
like
rich.
I did like Dante's Peak. San Andreas, I feel like could potentially work with a new hotspot forming, but it does have. I have only seen it once, so I honestly I couldn't tell you how bad it is.
So there's parts in it where they're driving and there's an earthquake, and the earthquake is supposed to be like sliding like sort of a transverse like oblique motion, and instead it like separates like I'm sorry, Ben, am I knowing your quantum?
No, yeah, thank you. You knew exactly what I was going to say. I'm like, you pick on me so much when I was trying to talk about quantum mechanics, and then you just went transverse oblique motion. I'm just like, nobody knows what that means.
All I'm thinking about when you're doing your hand motions, though, is the Land of the Lost from like the 90s where the car is driving and the land opens up and the car just falls into the like
That's what almost happens in the movie. Like he has to slam on the brakes because it just opens forever. And then there's convergence and there's divergence, but there's no like transform fault motion. And then there's a tsunami and there's a new plate that forms. And this is my favorite part when, oh my God, who is that? The actor who's supposed to be the scientist, because he's a bald white man with a beard. He looks at the camera like all sweaty-eyed, and he's like, this quake is going to be so big, you're going to feel it on the East Coast. And I'm just like, no! Nothing like that.
Is that Paul Giamatti?
Yes, Paul Giamatti.
Oh, that's what I'm looking. I'm like, I mixed San Andreas up with Volcano.
Oh, I've never seen Volcano.
I was thinking Volcano.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about The Rock, San Andreas.
Yes, I did watch that. This was terrible.
Oh, they go up and over a tsunami in a boat.
What?
Yes.
That feels wrong.
I knew! It's wild.
Although I did see Paul Giamatti, and my first thought was John Adams.
That was really good, by the way.
The president?
Yes.
No, there was a mini series where he played John Adams from like a book that somebody wrote that I had to read for my AP US history class.
He was so gross looking by the end. Like you knew they had to do their homework to figure out.
People got old in the 1800s.
They started the melt.
18th century. Yeah.
They weren't quite as well preserved as the people on this podcast.
Well, I may be the youngest?
No, Ben's younger than you. Ben's 34?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a child.
I know.
He's so optimistic, though. It's awesome.
Hooray!
Yay!
We're all bones eventually.
That seems like the best place to end the podcast, right? With
Yep,
that.
I thought so.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Yeah.
I'm like,
Thank
do
you.
I have to stop talking? You're
No,
like,
you can keep talking.
Hey, okay. You can
Okay, bye.
Jim has been ejected from
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Any closing thoughts? We usually ask people, like, if you could meet yourself in college, like, what would you tell
sure.
yourself? But, like, what would you tell yourself?
If it's not good, we can cut it.
Yeah.
If I meet myself in college,
Like,
what
if
would
you-
tell
if you met a
myself?
younger version of yourself, much younger than 34, like what like what kind of advice would you want to give yourself?
I guess take take all the opportunities that are given to you.
Nice.
Um, I did a talk for one of Amanda's classes, and it was basically it came down to a project I was asked to join in undergrad that had nothing to do with paleontology, had a lot to do with GIS work, has almost directed my entire life course since then, because I've done mostly GIS work since then. And it had nothing to do with, and even though I keep going to school for paleontology, most of the things I get paid to do are GIS. So it's yeah, and all the projects that I've end up being really well paying are the ones that I get asked if I want to join something, and I said usually I'll go sure, and I meet a lot of interesting people and I do a lot of interesting things, and it's mostly because I don't say no very well.
All right, that was good. We'll keep it.
Fair.
Good. That's good. Thanks.
We don't cut anything really unless you want us to. So like that was all
That's true.
joking.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jim.
Yeah,
This was
thank you.
fun.
Thanks for having me. I hope I was interesting. I hope I added to the flavor of the coffee.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
I like it.
All Sylvite flavored.
So I've literally had 2 drinks of coffee in my entire life.
Oh. That's sad.
One time I was in Starbucks and I order it's a black tea with like milk and stuff in it. So it's a brown color. And when I order, I'm like, that looks a little weird. But like I've literally up at that point I've never had coffee before, and this was like last year. And I'm like, the color is a little off, but okay, maybe they just did something different. I took a big sip and I'm like, oh, that is terrible. And I go to the girl there, I'm like, did you put like chocolate in this or something? Because I also don't like chocolate. But I'm like, I don't get the flavor. She's like, no, there's no chocolate in that. I'm like, did you put coffee in here? And she looks at me like I am the dumbest human being on the planet. She's like, of course I put coffee in it. You ordered coffee. She didn't say that. That's what her look did. And so I gave her she like held out her hand for the cup. She looked at the cup and went, oh, you didn't order coffee. You ordered tea. That's very different. And then the last time was just last month. My wife and I were on vacation, and we both had our cups. I had my teacup on the counter, and I was using the loose leaf, so I didn't have a tea bag in it, and she had her coffee on there, and I just picked up whatever cup was near me, and I took a sip, and I spit it out into the sink, and I'm like, how is it in the 26 years I've known you, this is the first time I've ever drank from your coffee cup?
Well, you won't make that mistake again.
I probably will. Maybe another 26 years. I don't know.
Hooray!
Yay!
We're all bones eventually.